Now, they brought on Matt Wieters. Is he expected to play a lot at catcher, or is it still going to be Molina?
I think Molina's probably still going to get 90% of the reps there. You're going to have to, cut his leg off to keep him from getting behind the dish, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
The Donut Bag is brought to you by SeatGeek. SeatGeek is the smart way to buy and resell tickets. It takes confusion out of buying tickets. They put a 0 to 10 score on each ticket to let you know if you're getting a good or bad deal. Use promo code DonutBag to get $20 off your first purchase. Go to SeatGeek.com or get the SeatGeek app. SeatGeek, life's an event. We have the tickets.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Donut Bag, part of the Pod Hub Network. In this episode, I conclude my series of previewing the teams in the NL Central. In this episode, I preview the St. Louis Cardinals with Zak White of thebarnburner.com. But first, I open up the mailbag to see what questions you have. And the first question is from, me. Now that I've previewed all the teams in the NL Central, how do I think they're going to finish? Well, here's what I think. I think last year, the Brewers had 96 wins, the Cubs had 95, and the Cardinals had 88. I think it's going to be a little bit different this year. I see the Brewers coming down a little bit. The Cubs, I don't think are going to do that great either, but I think the Cardinals are going to be better. So I think it's going to be a two-way race between the Cubs and the Cardinals. Brewers will finish in third, maybe with around 86 or 87 wins. Cubs will have wins somewhere in the low 90s. Pirates, I think they'll be a little bit worse than last year. I think they'll be around 78 or 77 wins. And the Reds will be better, but not that great. I think they'll also be around 77 or 78 wins. So, sorry. No, I don't think any Pirates World Series this year. Darn. All right, now on to your questions. At Moose8812 asks, how does a fly land on the ceiling? That is a good question. The theory was that the flies did kind of a half barrel roll sideways just before landing, but that theory was shot down in 1958. Why they studied this, I have no idea. But what happens is, on approaching the ceiling and while flying right side up, flies extend their forelegs over their heads until they grab a landing spot with the suction cups in their feet, and their momentum enables them to swing their hind legs up like a gymnast on a trapeze. So, how about that? At KGerm30 asks, how much wood could a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? This is another question that actually has an answer. New York State wildlife expert Richard Thomas found that a woodchuck could chuck and does chuck around 35 cubic feet of dirt in the course of digging a burrow. So he reasoned that if a woodchuck could chuck wood, he would chuck an amount equivalent to the weight of the dirt, or about 700 pounds. So there you go. Now don't ask me next how many licks does it take to get the Tootsie Roll Center for Tootsie Pop, because they did studies on that too. We have way too much time on our hands. My goodness. Abe Froman at 216 Homer asks, Fruity Pebbles, best cereal ever? No. Close, but no. Cinnamon Toast Crunch is definitely the best cereal ever. Prove me wrong. Come on. You know it's true. Cinnamon Toast Crunch is considered universally the best cereal ever. My other favorite cereals are Life, Lucky Charms, Honey Nut Cheerios, and Golden Grahams. Oh my god, I love Golden Grahams so much. Not Anyone Famous at CookMe74 asks, how many people who paid an ass load of money to sit by the bench tunnel regret that decision once they realize how bad hockey equipment reeks? Is that a thing? If you get really good seats to a hockey game and you're sitting near the players, do you smell their equipment? Because I don't know if I could take that smell. Steve Phantom at BaldSteve1972 asks, what's the better beer? Pale ales, IPA, lager, wheat beer, etc. Steve, I don't know a darn thing about beer. I don't drink beer. I generally don't drink because I'm stupid and goofy enough sober. So imagine me drunk. That's a scary thing. Brian Ferber at Culture Content asks, Sammy Khalifa was on the Buccos opening day cover handed out at Three River Stadium in which year in the 80s? That was, I believe, 1985. It would have been 85 or 86 because he only played a few years with the Pirates. I started following the Pirates, I'd say, I think in 1982 or 83, and they were actually good that year. Then in 84, they started to not do so great, and in 85, they finished 57 and 104. And that was one of the truly, maybe one of the worst teams of all time, but definitely just a horrible team. That team had, Sammy Khalifa at shortstop, Joggin George Hendrick, Sixto Lezcano, Doug Frobel. That also had a young Sid Bream and Tony Pena and Johnny Ray and Bill Madlock. But man, that team was really bad. Also had Rick Rhoden, who was a good hitting pitcher. But yeah, Sammy Khalifa was 85, 86. At Running Beam asks, 10 years from now, Spencer Lee will. Oh, I have a definite answer there. 10 years from now, Spencer Lee will be celebrating the 10-year anniversary of appearing on this podcast. So congrats to Spencer. At Keith W. Woolhup asks, even though the two biggest drama makers have left the team, the Steelers still seem to find it. Will they ever be drama-free, or should I just start including popcorn in my tailgates? Good question, Keith. If you notice, all the drama surrounding the Steelers now is about ex-players, and they're just, to me, it's pathetic. Some of the things that are being said, and also a lot of the drama is about these national quote-unquote experts that need to have something to talk about, and they know the Steelers are a hot-button topic, so they're going to keep bringing it up. But really, all the drama now is outside of the team, as opposed to inside of the team when Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown were here. So the main causers of the commotion and the drama are gone. So I think the Steelers will be okay. People will always talk about the Steelers. They're, one of the most popular teams in the NFL. So maybe, the stupid talk will always continue, but you can't avoid that. The saddest thing about about a lot of the things that have been going on in the media is just the level of journalism that's been going on. Like when this Josh Harris idiot says that Ben Roethlisberger intentionally fumbled in some game. You could have asked the other people on the team. I think Sports Illustrated published this article, but they didn't. That's pathetic. That's what kind of journalism is that? Or when Antonio Brown gives an interview and it's basically gets no challenge to any of the ridiculous things he said. Or same thing with Le'Veon Bell. What kind of journalists are these? I think it's completely pathetic. So honestly, find out the people that did those interviews or did that quote unquote journalism, and I say never follow them again, because they don't deserve a job after the crap that they've been doing. All right, thanks for the questions, guys. The Donut Bag starts right now. Okay, now to conclude our series on previewing the NL Central teams, we conclude with the St. Louis Cardinals. Leave the best for last, I guess. With me to talk about it is Zak White from the Barn Burner. How you doing, sir?
I'm good. How are you, Joe?
Doing all right. I am jealous like heck of the Cardinals. The Cardinals remind me kind of like the Steelers of baseball. Like they're always good. They have a crazy fan base. They're always successful. They're always in it. It's like they quote unquote do things the right way. How is this that they are just so good every year?
I don't know. I mean, I will say I definitely agree with you on the part about the fan base. The fan base is very rabid. So I'm in Memphis, and we have the Grizzlies, so an NBA team, and the Cardinals. So I'm kind of involved with both of those fandoms. And just seeing the difference between the two, the Cardinals I think a lot of times they expect everything to be at the highest level. So when it's not, people get disappointed, and they just put a lot of pressure on the management, on the city in general, really. And I don't think, even in Memphis, I don't see that same type of tenacity for the NBA franchise that we have here. So I think that probably has a lot to do with it.
Yeah, and last year, not making the playoffs is like just for them is just impossible. And they made a big move this year, getting Paul Goldschmidt. How much of an impact do you think that's going to have on the lineup?
I think that is going to fill probably one of the biggest gaps that we have, is a power hitting first baseman that we have not had since obviously Albert Pujols. That's been 7 years ago. He really just, I think most good teams have that spot in their lineup, that guy that they can count on. And hopefully that's what Goldschmidt means to the Cardinals going forward.
Yeah, that's just I think the other teams in the National League and the National League Central just saw that and said, God, that is no fair. Yeah, it's just crazy. But it's not all perfect with the Cardinals. They do have holes. Dexter Fowler is supposed to be their starting right fielder. He didn't have that great of a year last year.
No, he had I think not great is being very generous. He had a pretty terrible year last year, especially for the contract he's on and the output that he's expected. And really, if the Cardinals are going to have a successful year, that's a position that has to produce for them. And yeah, last year was that was a big reason that St. Louis wasn't able to make it back to the playoffs.
How about another big addition they had was Andrew Miller? Does he figure to be the closer?
I'm not sure on that. Honestly, in my personal wish list, I'd like to see Jordan Hicks get some reps there.
Yeah.
He's a guy that's throwing a triple-digit sinker. Like most of his pitches are in the triple digits. His strikeout rate is kind of concerning. It's not the highest, but he's worked on that and improving it in spring training. He's really young too. So I would think that hopefully he'll get some consistent reps in that position.
What about the rotation? They seem pretty set. Mikolas and Flaherty are great, but what about Carlos Martinez? Is he going to be okay?
That's a good question. So he came into spring training, and then they announced that he's having some shoulder issues, and he's not going to be able to pitch for a while consistently. So he's going to be coming out of the bullpen to start with, which is where he finished off last year. And he actually pitched pretty well. He closed out some games for us. It's really tough to say, but right now with our starting rotation of most likely Mikolas, Flaherty, Walker, Wainwright, and Hudson, if you got one of those guys goes down and his arm strength's back up, I would probably see him hopping right in there back into the rotation. It's kind of weird because he's been one of our best starters for several years, and to see him in this position could be interesting to see if it, like, which way it impacts him, positively or negatively.
Yeah. And Wainwright is just not what he used to be. There's a couple guys on the team like Wainwright and Molina. It's like, how are you still playing? You've been there so long. You've done it so long, but there's still chugging along.
Yeah, and even like Molina's hitting, somehow he hasn't lost a step with hitting. Even in some areas, he's improving. And then Wainwright, he pitched some in September last year after being injured a little bit. And he was actually pretty effective, surprisingly. It wasn't just like a pity, hey, yeah, we're going to play you. They signed him to a new contract, and he's still here, still part of Cardinal Nation.
Now, they brought on Matt Wieters. Is he expected to play a lot at catcher, or is it still going to be Molina?